No dog sold or raised for illegal purposes. This is a historical and entertainment-based channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, yeah. Episode 14, we back again. Yeah. Let go. A Florida supercross sleeper cell. What exactly is hybrid Vigor? The mysterious case of the Mike Dog. Let us analyze the evidence on this episode of Bulldog Court. Bulldog community, please rise. This is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game.
Court is now in session.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Like I said, this is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game. You could have been anywhere else in the Bulldog Talk streets, but you're here with me, and I'm so glad you did. You underdig. Man, I'm so happy about last week's show, Bulldog Court, episode 13, where we was able to, look into the lightning dogs and the tracking down of those dogs and where they went. We looked at, a deeper look into the Bobby Love dogs, the Cassius Clays of the world, and the mix he had. Shout out to all the Ohio dog men of the world, check those dogs out. And then we had a deeper look and a good look into, the Jeep Red Boy Roscoe, Jeep Red Boy Eli dogs and what they brought to the table in the last era. And how you was able to flip those in any kind of combination that you will and come up with success, which led me into some further research, and I was able to discover some other things that I would talk about in this show. And shout out to, on last week, man, a great show, Bulldoggin with Bo, with Non-Stop and J-Bo, man, what a wonderful job they did, saluting the dog women of the world, the dog ladies, you know what I'm saying? The pit bull mamas, as Twin would say, shout out to them. They did a wonderful job saluting those dog ladies. And then, Lil Rock came on. Just was a great show, man. I'm looking forward to everything that comes out of that. Shout out to all the people that came on when I jumped on a random live on this week talking about the loner dogs, because I was so inspired by the Bulldog with Bo show. I just wanted to speak on one element of those dogs that came out of the Tennessee area and, all around the Tennessee area, and the impact that they had in one particular strand, the loner dogs. So just a great week in the dog talk world as far as I'm concerned. I'm hoping that everybody else had a great and productive week. So I'm not going to hold your time. I'm going to get right into it. Into my first case, a Florida supercross sleeper cell. And I must identify what that means. But first, let me set the mood. I got to move down into Florida for a second, just to get, into what I mean when I'm talking about a Florida supercross sleeper cell, and then I'll explain from that point on. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, stop this music. Stop the music. Hold on. This is something new that I'm about to do for this particular case. And sometimes we have to do something different to change it up a little bit. And we're going to leave out of the confines of the Bulldog courtroom and go, where the action is and where this case presents itself out of, and that is the state of Florida. The Florida Supercross Sleeper Cell. We're going to do this one willingly, because the last time we had a court piece outside, we got ran outside. So we're going to change it up. Here we go. And so let me get into the ride, and I'm going to get with y'all from there. Okay, let me get in the helicopter. Try to get over here to Florida.
Hours later.
So we finally made it over to Florida. You know, look like we might be in the hood part of the. What in the world? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Cut. Hell no. I guess that's why they call it the Gunshine State. We're going to find another location. And furthermore, I want to know whose bright idea was it to drop us off in the middle of College Gardens in Jacksonville. You're fired.
Sorry about the mix-up, sir.
Cut the cameras off. Now, this a little better. Matter of fact, this a lot better. I'm going to come to you live remotely from the confines of St. Augustine, Florida. Man, we had to get out of Jacksonville. But Florida was a battleground, to say the least. And the battlecross dogs that came out of this state was battle-tested against some of the best bulldogs in the world. Which leads me to the Florida Supercross sleeper cell. And that is the Red Boy Jocko Boys Cross. Or more specific than that, the Cruise Rocky Boys Cross. And more specific than that, the BCC's Champion Bullet. That's the Cruise Rocky with the Red Boy Jocko and Boys Cross. And I'm going to give you a brief summary and rundown. But first we must start. And I know for the guys in the state of Florida, this is not new for them. And for other people, you know, we hear a lot more prominent crosses that come out of the state of Florida. The Boys Cross by itself out of Florida. The Midnight Cowboy Boomerang. A lot of the Yellow Dogs early on were down in the state of Florida. We know that. The Red Boy Jocko. And many crosses that were older than those crosses out of the state of Florida when Pete Sparks had his Kobe and Dabo type or Convino and Amstaff, whatever you might want to say, cross dogs before that. And Joe O'Day with his crosses of Kobe and Dabo dogs. Before that, Florida has been known for having many different battle crosses that have been tested into the extreme. This one was no different, but I think some people have let this one kind of like fly under the radar. And for good reason for a lot of people that they fly under the radar. And maybe that was intentional. But we gotta start with Thomas's Grand Champion Gingerbread. We're gonna start there. With a son of Cruise Rocky, bred to a Boys female. And then we're gonna move to Champion RM's Samantha. And this female here was out of the Champion BBC's Bullet and the Coleman's Gina Jet. Coleman's Gina Jet is a heavy Boys dog straight off of Right Hand Man. So they would take a son of Samantha and breed back to her. She would produce a son when bred back to her sire, Champion Bullet, called Lil Sky. And then they took Lil Sky and bred him back to Samantha. So you're just going back and forth with the Boys Red Boy Jocko cross. And then later on, they would breed her to another half brother to her, who was also a champion, called BBC's Buck. Straight off of Champion Bullet, bred to BBC's Smiley, and she was off of Jazz Man. You know, a lot of people know about Hutchinson Jazz Man, who was off of Right Hand Man, you know. And the bottom side is R&R's Cricket, off of R&R's Crockett 8-time winner. Now, I've never heard of the Crockett dog, but man, an 8-time winner off of Boys Red Oak, man, and some Champion Artie stuff and Cherokee Chief stuff. I think that's a dog worth looking into later on. But I digress. These are just a brief summary of some of the examples of this cross, and they just continue to play with this. This is the reason why I said this is a sleeper cell, because you would sleep on a certain kind of cross like that because there's so much other balls in that area, especially back in that time, that, you know, the Oiler Junior balls, you know, mixed balls, the boomerang balls. It's a lot of different crosses they were using at that time that were more popular. But I think this one right here was just as effective, and probably maybe just as consistent, but it was a sleeper cell. It was for those that knew. They would be the ones that knew. You understand? So this is just one example of a few dollars in a few camps, you know, that were using it exclusively in this way. Please leave your comments in the comment section. Tell me if you believe that, hey, this was a sleeper cell or not. This was a common cross. You know, we know that later on in more modern times, people would use the balls with the Mayday, with the Red Boy Jocko Bully or Tombstone cross. But for this one, I'm just talking about specifically Red Boy Jocko balls, and I'm talking about specifically, you know, with the champion bullet, man. You know, R.I.P. Mr. Coleman, all those people that were the originators of a lot of these crosses that I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to those guys and everybody who know. And so this is my case for the Florida Supercross sleeper cell. And this case is now dismissed. Now let me get back to the beach. We'll get back to the show after these important messages.
Check out one of the best dog talk shows out here, Bulldogin with Bo, on Dogman TV, Thursdays and Sundays, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Shout out to his co-host, Nonstop.
Oh, yeah. And for my second case, what exactly is hybrid vigor? Let us look into this. I've heard this term being used multiple times within the Bulldog world, within the Bulldog community, and some people may not know what it means. I'm gonna read the definition of what it means, but let me just do that first, and then I'll go into my whole spiel of, about when I first heard about it or whatever. Okay, hybrid vigor, by definition, or heterososis, is defined as the phenomenon whereby a progeny exhibits phenotypic superiority over its parents with regard to traits such as growth rate, reproductive success, and yield. So it's a phenomenon. A child of two parents can, grow up to be greater than the parents, can be more genetically superior than both parents, mama and father. Sire and Dam, we talking in the dog world. We talking about Sire and Dam. The first time I ever heard this term used was the classic legendary breeding of Jeep to Tabby Girl. And the word was that it produced hybrid vigor. And those dogs that came out of that breeding were more superior in every way. They were better bulldogs in performance, the ones that did perform, and the ones that did produce. As far as reproduction is concerned, they probably I'm sure they Tab outproduced, may have been bred more than Jeep, possibly. And he produced an enormous amount of animals. And I think the verdict is still out on the tally up of his points in registered merit status, in the truest sense of the word, because we already know that politics were indeed at play. So this is for the guys who, and the dog men and women who may not know what hybrid vigor means. And I'm challenging the Bulldog community to look at other examples of what you think of when hybrid vigor came into play by definition of what I just read. You know, me personally, I think hybrid vigor in certain instances could have happened to Jeep more than one time. Like, you know, like Jeep produced Champion Smiley also. And I believe he went on to produce just as many, if not more. I believe he produced more than Jeep did. I believe Tab may have outproduced Jeep. I think so. If that's what they mean, you know what I'm saying? I would have to look around at the landscape of the Bulldog world in the history sense to point out different ones. Maybe you can more quickly point out some quicker than I can. As far as where you might have heard hybrid vigor, you know, I also think that, you know, the Deacon Assassinator breeding produced hybrid vigor because that litter, I don't think Deacon or the Assassinator female had a title. Maybe the Assassinator might have won one. I don't know if Deacon was ever taken out. He might have been deemed too valuable. But when they bred those two dogs together, they were at least in the performance sense. The whole litter were made champions. So they were at least in the performance sense, they were much better and usable dogs than their parents, both their parents. Now the production side, we may have to, you know, look at that another time. But this is just something I'm presenting to the Bulldog community to take a look at this term hybrid vigor. What does it mean as far as to you in the Bulldog world? What does it mean to us in the Bulldog world? Is the definition that they have given us fitting to what we are talking about in the Bulldog world as far as hybrid vigor is concerned? And just please leave your comments. Please leave your comments in the chat or in the comment section. This is just my presentation, short presentation of the hybrid vigor thing. So in the case of what exactly is hybrid vigor, this case is now dismissed. Yeah. And for my third and final case, the mysterious case of the Mike Dog. And you may have heard during the random live episode of Sporting Dog Archive this week, earlier this week, I think it was Monday, and I made mention of this story by Bob Finley, and you know, just to make sure that people understand that these are not stories that I'm making up. These are stories from the horse's mouth. So I want to play this short snippet of an interview done by Hellcat. Check out Hellcat's channel. Outstanding content on his channel. And just play the short bit of him talking about the Mike Dog and Hellcat mentioning the Mike Dog. So Hellcat is you know, as knowledgeable as he is, of course he would know boatloads of material that he has at his disposal. So he would be looking at different things and looking at different, you know, insights that others may not have access to see or hear about the Mike Dog. But I'm going to let the audio play, just that piece, and then I'm going to provide a link to Hellcat's channel. I believe he has a new channel, Hellcat Reloaded, if I'm not mistaken. Please forgive me if it's not correct, but so that people can listen to the full interview in its entirety. But like to hear it, here it go.
I just wanted to talk about this Mike Dog that I wasn't too familiar. I don't know how many of my followers might be familiar with Mike, but let's talk about Mike.
You talking about Mike out of Little Baker Jeep?
Right. The Little Baker Jeep that we.
Well, I just want to tell you, when I go talking about Mike, it's just like me and James both. Here's the time I just have to duck my head in the embarrassment and say, you know, Bob, you're doing a stupid thing. Me and James used to talk a lot. Mike, I got Mike, and he he was a barnstormer. I mean, from the time he was little, he was a barnstormer. James used to always say that Mike was the best one in the litter. Now, very, very early, I started going to James and taking Mike with me, and he was really, really impressed with it. So he wasn't about 16 months old. And Rex Bird is a good friend of mine, and me and Rex Bird have talked before. Now, I made this statement to Rex. I said, Rex, you know, me and you have learned more good dogs than most people ever owned. So me and James, at about 16, 18 months old, we decided that we were going to start Mike's career. So above all the things we could have got on, we got on like a 4-time winner. He was an old dog, and he was unstoppable. And Mike was a puppy. And so it went on and went on and went on and went on, and the puppies started coming out in Mike. Then finally we seen him. We didn't have a prior, so we picked him up. And James took him back, and I think James bred him some more, do this with him, that with him, everything. Now, I don't remember what happened to Mike. But just make a long story short, these Sparks always said if a dog was good at 2-year-old, he'd be better at 2.5. So me and James Crenshaw, I consider James the best dog man in the world. We made one stupid mistake with Mike, and it was a mistake. And so, you know, don't do that. Let that puppy get the puppy out of it, or he ain't got a prayer.
Okay. Now, I want to just point out some things about what I heard, and I want to know, did you hear the same? Now, about that Mike dog, did you hear anywhere in that story where Mike quit? I could have swore he said they picked him up. Did you hear what he said? That Crenshaw got Mike back from Mr. Finley, and he bred that dog, and he don't quite exactly know what happened with the Mike dog. Crenshaw bred the dog, and he don't know what happened. Now, I gotta play the other side and play devil's advocate, because, you know, we must play both sides on Bulldog Court. Now, could it be that he took him and bred him to some very good females? Of course, him, the Mike dog, and Jeep both being the exact same age, they little-mate brothers. And we look at the other corroborating stories from some people like Triple M, that when he came there was, 50, 60 dogs off of Jeep. Now we put that into question with Mike, supposedly out of Jeep. And if Jeep died after the Jeep Homer match, like Bert Sorrell said he did, then he would have the perfect replacement for him in a dog that was... I'm going to leave it right there. So in the case of the mysterious case of the Mike dog, this case is now dismissed. For now. Oh yeah. Now it's time for my closing monologue. And like I say every time, make your next move your best move, but move strategic, like a chess move. Hey, I know some of y'all probably already do this, but you know what I'm saying? Every now and again, put your little chicken grease or a little fish grease on top of the kibble, man. You know what I'm saying? Help that coat to shine a little brighter, man. But anyway, this is your host, Get a Hold James, because we got to get a hold of the game. I'm out.